People cope with hardships in many ways. Some people cry, others get angry, and some just give up. But not if you're from the Balkans. You may think you know the internet, but trust me, you don't know anything about Balkan people internet. One of the funniest and most interesting corners of the web is Balkan people internet. That, in internet years, spans Balkan history, which is so in-depth that you probably couldn't cover it all in one video. But what you should know is that it consists of some of the greatest empires in history: communism and fascism, religious wars, ethnic wars, world wars, and most recently, internet wars. If you didn't know, it's this region in Europe, made up of the following nations, and these nations don't particularly like each other. Here's a safe rule when wondering which nation is friends with which in the Balkans. If the two countries share a border, they don't like each other. If they don't share a border, there's a 70% chance they don't like each other. One of the defining characteristics of the typical Balkan YouTube commenter is nationalism. But I don't want you to interpret this as a nationalist in the West.
Oh! Here in America, we don't tolerate that kind of crap, sir!
In the Balkans, nationalism is the norm. Due to the many hardships endured by these people, oftentimes inflicted by neighboring countries. When I say hardships, I'm not talking a trade agreement fell through, I'm talking wars, annexations, and genocides, if you get what I mean. To show you what I mean, here are some examples.
In gay Greece, home of sexuality, long live the Ottoman Empire.
Bulgarians above all. Bulgarians rulers of the world. Bulgarians were invincible warriors. Bulgarians creators of almost all civilizations.
Now, you might see these as bad or hilarious depending on who you are, but remember, nationalism is the norm for people who grew up here. So they took to the internet to share their disdain for each other, posting some of the most ridiculous and unintentionally hilarious comments of all time without a shred of irony. But if you know anything about internet irony, you know things tend to go in a circle. These comments were so ridiculous that people started creating archives of them in places like r/Balkan people internet, which would go on to be banned for promoting nationalism, which is the opposite of what it was supposed to do. It was making fun of the nationalism, but this will be a theme going forward, trust me. The irony would be pushed so far that people would start parodying their own cultures, not just other cultures, which ended up creating one of the greatest and most influential subreddits of all time. Not just for Reddit, but for internet culture. They created r/2Balkan for you. This community took Balkan people internet and cranked up the irony to 1,000,000. The whole point of this community was Balkan people coming together to make fun of each other by parodying their own nationalism, which in turn spawned some of the most iconic internet memes of this generation. The most blank in blank meme was widely popularized due to its use on 2Balkan for you. It also included parodying the stereotypes that were used by many Balkan internet posters. Now, you as an outsider might look at this and say, hey, these people are making fun of each other based on things that I'm not comfortable with, therefore it's not okay. But I present a counter argument. Balkan culture is nothing like your culture. First of all, it's normal in Balkan culture to make fun of people, and to not take that personally. Second of all, remember all of these countries raise people to be extremely proud of their heritage and their roots, because historically, there is a very good chance they've been wronged by their neighbors at some point in the past, due to the sheer volume of history in the Balkans. As a result of this, a lot of people would just avoid talking to anyone from a neighboring country due to the stereotypes they were raised on. 2Balkan for you flipped this narrative completely on its head by uniting people from the Balkans with one thing they all had in common: nationalism. This video was made possible by Raycon. Look, you already know what Raycon is, so let me skip the formalities. Raycon's everyday earbuds have optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit, meaning not only are they comfortable, but they won't fall out. Trust me, I've tried. They also have over 8 hours of playtime and 32 hours of battery life, which is insanely convenient. Nothing worse than having your headphones die on you. The sound quality is also great as it comes with passive noise isolation and stereo sound enhancement. No more mom walking in on you gaming. They're also sweat and water resistant, built to withstand that accidental, oops, I left them in my pocket and now I put them in the wash. So if you want to take advantage of this deal and get 15% off your Raycon order, click the link in the description box below or go to buyraycon.com/ghostgum to get 15% off your Raycon purchase. Thank you, Raycon, for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into it. It's this nationalism for their countries that they were able to bond over. Many users of 2Balkan4U argue that they would have never had perspectives on their neighbors and their upbringings had it not be for the subreddit, when in reality, they have a lot more in common than they originally thought. I guess you could say it was ironic, realizing they hated each other was the reason they came together, but either way, they came together. One of the heads of 2Balkan4U has explicitly stated that if it weren't for the subreddit, he, as a Greek person, would have never met his Macedonian or Turkish friends. He claims that if the subreddit never existed, tons of Balkan people would still hold the same perspective of their neighbors. They were also able to turn up the irony and laugh at the people who took their nationalism seriously. So in a bizarre, roundabout, layered way, they cooled the tensions in historically one of the most tense regions on the entire planet. It's like cranking up the AC and the heat at the same time to achieve an average temperature, and it worked. Now you see, this perspective is a bit nuanced and hard to understand if you don't have a background in the Balkans. Although you could just talk to a Balkan person about that to get the perspective, but hey, it might take a second to realize that even if I don't like this, these people are okay with making fun of each other and being made fun of. Reddit admins do not think like this. You see, there's one type of person that no matter what, people in 2Balkan4U unironically hated. People from the West. And nobody embodies the stereotypical, terminally online, babied Western person than the average Redditor. A couple of people came after 2Balkan4U, most notably the users of AHS, but it was nothing more than people just complaining, failing to understand the point of the subreddit, which wasn't to be mean or hurtful, but make fun of that. It was just a small group of Redditors though, so who really cares? 2Balkan4U did take some steps in changing the subreddit to be more advertiser friendly in order to not get it banned, such as changing some user flares and making sure no unironic stuff got through. But this wouldn't stop them from the attack that was about to come. Not from the Reddit mods, but the Reddit admins, in particular one notoriously awful admin. Now, as previously discussed in another video, admins and mods are very different people. To understand this simply, admins are paid employees of Reddit, whereas mods are basically slaves. Mods are the ones who get individuals banned, admins are the ones who get entire subs banned. Now, in doing research for this video, I got in touch with the head admin of 2Balkan4U, who had direct interactions with a certain Reddit admin. The messages between them perfectly paint the picture of why 2Balkan4U was banned. So this admin, Chitor? I think that's how you pronounce it, is the one we're going to be talking about. You might know her because she got caught abusing her powers on r/place to erase stuff she didn't like, essentially defeating the whole purpose of place. Cheetor had taken some issue with 2Balkan4U, citing that the user flares were in direct violation of Reddit Rule 1. Here are the user flares on screen that they used to make fun of each other. You can be the judge for yourself. Whether you agree these violate the rules or not, the mods had to agree to the conditions. The mods simply wanted an explanation on why they had their user flares removed, as Cheetor had just removed them without giving them any warning or any heads up. They explained the point of these user flares was to make fun of people who were using them seriously in the real world. They also argued that they're criticizing themselves, not others. Therefore, it's okay because everyone here is in on it. Either way, the mods said they'd be willing to change the flares if they got them back, giving Cheetor what they wanted if they would just leave 2Balkan4U alone. Now, if you look at the messages, it's clear Cheetor didn't even look at the response and just doubled down, saying that their word was final and they wouldn't be getting their flares back no matter what, because I don't know, man. But Cheetor, being the hero she was, wouldn't stop there. They mentioned 2Balkan4U was promoting hate and gave examples. The mods claimed that these posts weren't even promoting hate, and they also said they were trying to keep the subreddit as clean as possible, but felt they were being unfairly treated and given too short of a leash. They also pointed out that nobody on the sub was getting offended, who, keep in mind, were the butt end of these jokes, but it was a Western person coming into another culture telling them what was okay and what wasn't. They pointed out that the posts mentioned were against hatred. The whole point of them was to make fun of nationalists in the region by parodying them to a ridiculous extent. They also claimed that a Reddit admin should be helping them to make sure their community is within guidelines, not going on a power trip and harassing them because they don't understand it. They even asked for contact with another admin who didn't have these people have survived the strongest empires in history and each other. You think some Reddit admin could kill them? Here is Balkan's IR.